last session of the day. I hope we will keep this discussion interesting. And as introduced, we're here to talk about how optimizing delivery for faster service, specifically within the online grocery sector. Over the next 40 minutes or so, we're going to be focusing on 4 key areas, similar to the previous discussion, really around customer needs and how that drives the need for faster service and delivery. The second point will be around what companies can do to improve supply chain, and obviously linked to that, how to drive success in order fulfillment and last mile delivery. And then finally, we'll talk about the future and what companies need to do to remain relevant and to compete in an ever-changing and growing market. The panelists with me have already been introduced, so let me kick off with some of the questions. And let's start off with the topic around customer needs for faster service. John, from your experience, how have customer expectations for fast delivery and better service evolved over the past few years?
Hello. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So for Talabat specifically, we'll be mainly covering the quick commerce concept, right? So in just 2 words, the quick commerce is basically the fastest segment of e-commerce, and it's basically, put in simple words, delivering groceries in 20 minutes. And this concept is quite new, right? This is the youngest model of delivery that exists. It started in 2020, so we're talking less than 4 years. And even in these 4 years, we already saw an evolution in the consumer behavior, right? So the way it started is that the consumers were mainly using quick commerce platforms in order to do impulse buying, right? So I'm cooking, I'm missing my onion, I'll order it now, or I'm craving ice cream at 3 a.m. in the morning, I'll order it. What we see today, almost 4 years fast forward, is that the behavior is completely different. And the users now, they're used to the convenience, and they're now moving towards doing their full shopping experience on quick commerce. And with this evolution, there's a lot of adaptation that we need to do, right? Because when speed was the main differentiator maybe 4 years ago, today, I would say, especially in the UAE, but also in the region, speed is becoming, everyone is offering speed, right? So now the users are expecting not only their order to be fast, but also to have a very large assortment, to have the best prices, to have all year long promotions. And I believe that's mainly the evolution that we're seeing in the way users are actually interacting with our platform.
Great. Chase, from Careem's perspective, any thoughts, views on the same question?
Yeah, look, I think I'd echo everything John has said. There's been a pretty tremendous shift in what quick commerce has been used for over the last 4 or so years. Very much starting as a top-up impulse offering, and then transitioning into a full weekly shop. I mean, if you think about the consumer in our region, incredibly tech-savvy, some of the highest rates of digital penetration in the world, and a very young consumer, where almost every other aspect of their life is delivered on demand, instantly, and with the greatest levels of reliability. And so, if you look at what's happening in quick commerce, as a segment, it's growing at about 10x the rate of the rest of e-commerce in at least the grocery space. And consumers are realizing this is not just for Kit Kats and Red Bulls at 2 a.m., but I can now get my entire grocery shop on these platforms.
And I guess as consumers using this more and more, we want to anticipate what their needs are. Mahmoud, any data-driven strategies that your company has been using to try to anticipate and forecast what consumers need before they actually need them?
Okay, so we'll start by the most important aspect of the customer, which is the journey that the customer has to go through, and it has a lot of steps, and you have to identify all of these to be able to cater to their needs. What we use in Rabbit is we have like a neighborhood-centric approach. We divide the areas that we cover into small neighborhoods, and we try to identify the needs of the specific and the special neighborhoods. And we use our in-house built AI and machine learning technologies to then personalize this experience for our customers. So if we have a look, for example, at some of the assortment we offer, of course, there are the basic needs and the basic necessities for the customers. But For example, we have areas that are populated with densely with Gen Z, and they like, for example, a special type of coffee that's been launched and that's very new and appealing to them. So we serve in this neighborhood this type of coffee, for example, versus another neighborhood where the other customers in this neighborhood prefer maybe the typical or other brands of coffee. So we change the assortment accordingly. And coming back to the journey, the most important part at the end is also to get feedback from the customer. Not necessarily what is just negative or what we have to improve, but sometimes you get positive feedback of aspects that have something you can build on. So one of the customers, for example, was telling us that our search engine is very advanced and he can find everything he wants in like 30 seconds and he makes the order. But in reality, when you looked at the numbers, you find out that these customers get you the least amount of money actually. So we're trying to have a mix between having a good search engine and also having the IKEA maze concept where he can actually be exposed to everything you have to offer on the app.
Halima, maybe one for you regarding, I guess, the topic that Mahmoud discussed and getting into that around personalization, customer experience. What are the kind of strategies that Kibson has been looking to employ to kind of deploy to kind of drive that in the company?
So Kibsons, although it exists in the space of quick commerce, it's a bit different. We are a family-owned business. We are extremely passionate about the fresh produce segment of the business because we have been the importers and wholesalers of fresh fruits and vegetables for nearly 40 years now. So even though we are in the space of delivering to the door, but our focus is on fresh produce. And that's not a very easy segment to deal with. That's not a very easy segment to convert the customers either. So I think for us, what remains important, as much as it was 5 years ago, 7 years ago when we began the journey, is to deliver the quality, the price, because customers are very sensitive on price. They notice a 1 dirham drop in strawberries, and the delivery timing, because we manage our fulfillment from a centralized store. Why a centralized store? Because it's heavily temperature controlled. We take temperature very seriously, and it is not in the best interest of the consumer for us to replicate dark stores everywhere around Dubai. It just wouldn't work. So in addition to the delivery timing, what also matters most is the actual fulfillment percentage. And we aim for about 99%, which is crazy. And this is because whether we can deliver in 15 minutes or not, what matters is that we do deliver what they have asked for. So that those 4 parameters are always a focus for us on a day-to-day basis, and they may sound like 4, but they are very difficult to maintain on a consistent level day on day, particularly when we have grown from 100 deliveries a day to 150,000 a month. So how do you deliver 150,000th delivery with the same emotion, with the same passion, with the same promise as a family business, especially in the world of food, where wastages are so high and prices are so competitive, and it's just consistency that takes a long time to achieve.
And Raed, similar to that point around those metrics and improving performance and optimizing that customer delivery, the food delivery, what are the challenges or what are the things that Grocer has been doing to drive that? And how have you used customer feedback or data from the customer to drive efficiency in your operations?
Yeah, I echo what Halima said earlier, is that there are many shopping missions, right? There are many consumers. There is the shopping mission where I need something right now, or the customer segment that is willing to buy, small just for the day. Grocer, our very first tagline was your family's grocer, right? It was something that is targeting families, that is targeting the shopping behavior and the shopping missions of families. And so we doubled down on quality of service. We doubled down on range. After becoming part of the Smiles ecosystem, Smiles, we do the very similar business model of having a centralized warehouse where we do have, again, temperature controlled. We focus on having a much larger range. Customer feedback comes in to us in 2 ways. We get the feedback after every order of how did we perform on many different aspects, the quality of the product, the quality of the service, the speed. And during the shopping, actually, we enable, because we recognize that quality and recognize that every consumer has their own personalized need, we enable the shopper to communicate with our employee who is in the store picking the order to specify the ripeness level of the fresh produce, to specify, do they want, their bananas half green, do they want their, avocados half ripe, and that direct feedback generates significant, loyalty and retention. So we're pretty happy with that approach. We cannot touch, Careem's quick service, but we provide the range and we provide the personal touch to the customer.
And maybe a follow-up question around, customers are going to demand lots of different things and going to want everything immediately. How do you balance that out to ensure that you're generating a return on that investment? And when I mean investment here is you make investments on strategies, on tools. How do you look at that, and how do you choose what to do to ensure, obviously, customers are happy, but you're still making a return for shareholders and for the investors and for the management?
So it's about data, right? I mean, number one is we look at what actually has a direct impact on the shopper and their retention and their loyalty. And so if we've done a number of things where we test, we measure, and then we say, it didn't work out, let's change. I think previously, the previous panel talked about click and collect. We were one of the first ones that actually enabled it, found that the customer base here does not appreciate it, and we removed it. So it's a lot of testing, a lot of measurement, and whatever the customer will give you immediate feedback by placing the second order, and that way we'll give you the return.
And Halima, as a family business, how do you look at this from a, where you put your money, where you make your investments, and making sure that you get a return on that, because obviously, cash isn't unlimited.
Exactly. So it's the same thing. We prioritize the fulfillment, to the point that the first app that Kibsons actually created was not the delivery app, the one that is used by the customers, but it was our picking and drivers app. So our investment is always prioritized internally. If you were to visit our stores and join one of our sustainability tours, you'll be very surprised to see how high-tech we are internally. And the number of deliveries and the number of picking we do from a limited space. I've said this before, about 100% of all our local FMCG orders are completely automated, so they are machine-driven purchase orders that go out in order to reduce the food wastage. So the tech that we are focusing on is not necessarily, or not prioritizing how to sell you more cherries, but how to reduce the cost internally, because that is the longevity of the business. At the end of the day, the quality and the price, we have to exist, and then we can sell more. So from day one, our marketing strategy has been word of mouth. In fact, for the first 4 years, I did not spend a single dollar on marketing, because there is no point on offering something and then not being able to deliver, and that same dollar turning into negative marketing. So therefore, we are very careful with how we spend the money, and focusing on that boring day-to-day work behind the scenes.
So going over to that topic around cost management, I guess one of the important drivers of cost is inventory. Mahmoud, within Rabbit, what are kind of the tools or methods you use to ensure you have real-time inventory management? And how do you ensure that's happening consistently?
So the most important part would be, I would say, the balance between supply and demand. You don't want to carry too much stocks and too much inventory, so you're locking in capital that you're not using. And you also don't want to have low inventory levels where you're not able to serve your customer the way you want and the way they expect. So one of the most important KPIs we use is actually the return per square meter used within your warehousing systems. So everything that you're stocking up needs to have its value and needs to be getting you the correct ROI. We look at it by segmenting our business into mainly three businesses into one business. So we have one business which is the e-commerce platform or e-commerce app that the customers uses. We have the supply chain management and inventory management business, and we have the last mile and logistics business. And all three are linked together within our tech capabilities. So everything from end to end within the value chain is linked together. So when we look at the part of the supply chain and the inventory and the warehousing, we always want to make sure that, as I said, you're not carrying too much and not too low. And we look at maybe 2 or 3 important pillars here. We're looking at, first of all, the lead time from the suppliers, and we integrate this into our formula and the tech formula. We look at how the system itself with the lead times with the suppliers are filling up your pipeline. We have the demand forecasting engine as well that makes sure that you're ordering enough for the inventory, and we have the real-time tracking of our inventory and the systems. So what you see on the app is actually what you get. So when we link all these together, this is what we mainly focus on to make sure that everything is balanced.
Raed, any best practices you'd like to share around managing inventory, making sure it's available, making sure it can be delivered at the right time within a grocer?
We have, with our model, because we're a centralized warehouse, we've got a lot more space, but then we're also covering a much wider range, right? So our warehouse right now has 15,000 SKUs, so it's crucial for us that every single bit of the warehouse is optimized. We, I think similar to what Kibsons does, is our forecast is automatically generated. We, the demand, the sell-out, the sell-through is being calculated on a daily basis. The other thing is we look at is, speed. So anything that is not taking off, where we would sell out whatever we bought within at least a week or 2 weeks maximum, then we would have to put in some additional mechanisms in place. What differentiates all of us from physical retail, traditional retail, is the use of technology, right? And every single step that we do is driven by data. That's really the key point, is you have to manage the data on a daily basis so that nothing sits in the warehouse, nothing sits in the store for more than a week or 2 max.
I guess linked to that and linked to the point Mahmoud made around demand supply, Chase, predictive analysis, AI, how are you using that to drive forecasting and management of inventory more broadly?
Yeah. So I think we operate across the board a very similar stack to what these 2 gentlemen just described. But the additional dynamic that we have to contend with is actually 2, and it really couldn't exist without pretty sophisticated forecasting technology, and in particular AI-led technology. Is that, 1, quick commerce in the Middle East is very different to quick commerce elsewhere, and very different to the supermarket business. Instead of storing 2,500 SKUs in 250 square meters, we store 8,500, 9,000 in that same space, and turn it over incredibly quickly. And then we've also been growing 20% a month for the last 3 years, and that creates incredible volatility in your supply chain, your demand patterns. And so we've had to invest, probably disproportionately so, in getting algorithms that can predict accurately what's going to happen next week, so that we're not going the way of the Gatiers of the world and shutting down business because we haven't been able to be sustainable. And so we've used a mix of both in-house solutions. For instance, all of our fresh forecasting has been built by our internal data science teams, and then industry leading solutions for everything else, which is a little bit more stable. And it's worked out fairly well so far.
And John, similarly to Talabat, or in Talabat, predictive AI, what are the kind of things you're using today to help drive and manage inventory more efficiently?
I think for us, it's very similar to Careem, right? We all agree that demand planning is one of the most critical functions for our business, right? What makes it even more complex for dark stores is that not only you need to maintain the right level of inventory in one place, you need to maintain it in 30 plus places. So you need to have the right item available every day in more than 30 different places, right? And because our assortment, I think we also covered this, the assortment is also very different by area, and the trends are also very different by area, this makes it a very, very complex model. So definitely, I mean, I can't say that we're perfect in that domain yet, but we are moving more and more towards using external tools that are paired with our internal forecasting methods in order to bring in AI and predictive model into the equation. The difficulty, I would say, is that even the amount of data is not huge yet, right? Because we started less than 4 years ago. So even like, I believe that the more data we will have in order to be able to feed that system, the more accurate our system will be. And by the end of the day, it's going to be, I mean, the trade-off for us is almost like a daily struggle. Either you want to optimize for your availability, so basically you will increase your buffer stock into the stores, but as mentioned, the stores that used to carry 2,000 SKUs, now they need to carry 10,000 plus in that same place. And for quick commerce to actually really be efficient and to be fast, our dark store, these are micro-fulfillment centers. So these are relatively very small in space because we need to be also conveniently located in the high-density areas. So the challenge would be that if you optimize for your availability, then you run out of space and your stores are completely stuffed. And then if you go with the very surgical exact amount that you need, then your risk is that you might go out of stock before the peak time, which is usually evening time. So definitely we need to use very advanced predictive analysis in order to be able to be more and more accurate in that field.
The next question is for the group more broadly, more generally. Have you looked at implementing automation either in the warehousing or other parts of the logistics operations? And if so, what have the challenges been and what have been the successes? Maybe Raed, start with you.
So we haven't done robotic automation, right? We've done a lot of automation in processing information, processing data. As you said, you know, forecasting, demand planning, order placement, that has been automated. What we have not yet reached where the warehouse is fully automated inside or even pseudo-automated. We're still rely on, and the reason for that is we're still learning. You know, the demand is shifting, the categories we're still optimizing, and once you know exactly how you're going to go run it for the long term, then you can start putting in some significant investments in automations. But on the information side, on the data side, we've done that a while ago now.
Halima, same question.
Very similar. I think automation is a great topic. It's very successful around the world, and we all keep an eye on it. I think what we are aware of is that in this market, at this time, with the cost of labor, it is still too early. I don't think it makes sense at this point, and particularly for Kibsons, we are still in that zone where we need to do a qualitative eye check. So it's very important. That's majority of the business. We do have many SKUs, but fresh is a different segment altogether. And so, yeah, it's a matter of time, I think. At this point, I mean, this is nothing to hide. The numbers just don't make sense.
Any different views from the panelists?
Maybe one point to add. I think in Talabat, we're starting to experiment a bit more of in automation. We're starting with some robotic deliveries. So we have what we call the Talabots. So now if you go to, for example, Dubai Silicon Oasis, for certain areas, we have robots delivering, basically handling the last mile. Also in our campus in City Walk, we do deliver via robots from our kitchen to the Canadian University as a pilot. And in Expo, it was also like the Talabots where basically the launch of these robotic deliveries started. I think all of these are definitely experiments. yes, I agree with my colleagues. No one is ready. Even people are not ready. Today, the main obstacle for these robots to be efficient are they in every single trip, they've been stopped, intercepted in their itinerary because people want to take selfies with these robots. So I think, yeah, like we need to keep experimenting. But I also think there's still a lot of optimization that we need to bring to our model in every single field before we move into full automation.
Maybe on that topic, Mahmoud, if maybe automation and robots we're not there yet, what are the types of innovations you look to implement in the warehouse and in the fulfillment centers to drive that efficiency?
Okay. So I'll start by mentioning actually a test we always do to make sure that we're operating efficiently within our warehouses. Any new employee who comes in needs to pick an order, and then we see how fast he's doing it. And if he's not doing it as fast as the most experienced picker in the store, then something in the process is not working right. This is how we test prove it. So we measure actually everything in seconds, and we make sure through our tech integration that we have the optimum efficiency in the layout within the warehouse itself. This is the first point. So we need to make sure that we're not spending any seconds on anything that you actually don't need. So the layout within the warehouse is very important for everyone who's working inside. So everyone needs to know exactly where he needs to be, what he needs to be doing, what he needs to be picking, and how fast. And again, as I said, everything is measured in seconds. So sometimes, for example, we have a KPI that needs to be met in 7 seconds. If it's 8 or 9 seconds, we're actually having a discussion why we're losing 2 seconds in this area. And then the last important point is the handshake or the delivery of the bag itself or the order to the delivery rep. And here you can find as well, if you're not very careful, a lot of seconds will be lost. So we're trying to make it as fast as possible in order to reduce the pick and pack time, which we do in Rabbit under 2 minutes, and give the rider the most remaining time from the 20 minutes to actually drive to the customer and deliver the experience they're expecting.
So very much about training people, getting them to be more efficient. Raed, any things you do in a grocer to help drive the warehouse operations more efficiently?
So the warehouse is organized where it's completely automated, where when an order comes in, the picker knows exactly where to go. It's being guided that this item is there, that item is there. And plus the whole route planning is already optimized, so to get the most optimized fulfillment. And we do measure, not to seconds, but we do measure and make sure that there is a standard. However, if a customer, as I said, we have the capability where the shopper is notified that your order is being picked now. And if they choose to interact with the picker, show me the image of the product, show me the photo, we allow them to do that. It's that touch, that customer service, that personalized service is so crucial for us. So we're optimizing space. We're making sure that the fulfillment is as optimized and is as automatically guided as much as possible, but we don't want to lose the personal touch.
I want to switch now outside of the warehouse to getting the actual product to the end customer, so the last mile. And I guess there's a question maybe for the full group, but let me start with you, Halima. What are some of the strategies you use to optimize the last mile delivery part?
I think now on this topic, the market is quite mature. We all use very advanced route optimizations based on geolocations. And I think over 7 years, we've figured out a way of how each of us do our business. It's a little bit different when it's a marketplace because then they are relying on proximities. For us, we have a centralized store. So we still have to have the traditional route planning, optimize it, make sure the driver has the right capacity, make sure we don't send him off with 1 million deliveries and he is exhausted by the end of it and we have screaming customers. So those I think are now, we've gone past that learning curve. What is yet to be seen in this market in terms of last mile, I think is the introduction of EV fleets, and that will be the new change of how they survive or break down or cause disruption to our last mile strategies. And I would also like to add that we focus a lot on supply chain, we focus a lot on delivery schedules and optimizing and cost, and that is good, that is nice. But I think at the end of the day, what wins the customer's heart is the variety of the products that we are able to bring to the table. And so that is the real business still. For example, selection of products that we bring to the Kibsons platform is very well appreciated by our consumers. So, you know, we are known for the range of gluten-free products or vegan products, especially because we are into food and the notion of health is increasing very well in this part of the world. I'm actually very happy to see that 5 years ago, if I had a conversation on sugar with someone, and today when I have a conversation on sugar, it's much easier. Gut is another very easy topic to, you know, converse, and the fact that we've brought on brands like Sainsbury's and Super Value, that's the feedback we get from consumers. 3 months ago, we did a focus group, and the consumers were not interested in how faster the deliveries would be. They were focusing on, hey, can I have Happy Pear from Ireland? And we did that. So I think that still is the front line of the business. And we make sure that in Kibsons, we spend 50% of the time understanding the market, understanding what the consumers want, what is not there in Dubai that we can offer them, and that will be one dimension of growth that will remain to be seen here.
Thank you. Chase, maybe on the quick commerce side, the question around last mile and balancing between cost and speed, how does Careem look at that?
Yeah, I think the answer will probably differ on whether you're a pure dark store player or whether you exist as part of an aggregator or a platform. I think, you know, the tremendous advantage we've had is we exist, you know, in many verticals: food delivery, marketplace delivery of retailers, and even an express business where we service the likes of Amazon, Noon, InstaShop, etc., with our same fleet. So it's meant that, you know, we're plugging into an incredibly liquid fleet from day one. So we don't have high fixed overheads on a driver fleet that's not utilized. And then the other, it's actually an advantage of quick commerce, is you have incredibly close proximity to your customer. You know, on average, our drivers are on a trip for 10, 12 minutes at most. And so they're doing 3.5 trips per hour. And so the efficiencies we get out of that mean that speed has actually been a massive benefit to economics. Contrary to what many believe, speed is actually a unit economic positive thing, so long as you can get sufficient scale to cover all your store costs. And a lot of where you've seen quick commerce players struggle is the inability to capture that scale. Because I think it's been mentioned throughout the panel, ultimately, we're still grocery retailers, we're selling assortment, and if you can't get that right quickly enough with the right quality, you'll be out of the game pretty fast.
John, any views on this?
No, I can only agree that it's all about the fleet optimization, right? And for us, for Talabat, we use the same fleet across all verticals. So it's the same driver who can be delivering a food order, then can also deliver a grocery order. So you're talking about more than 10 million orders delivered per month, right? So then it really comes down to how you can optimize your fleet at scale, right? And then we really obsess internally about the on-time metric, right? Because in reality, when a user or a consumer places an order, the trigger goes simultaneously to the store in order to prepare the order, and also to the driver. Let's say if we take any vendor, not necessarily a dark store, with our data, we know how much time this vendor would need in order to prepare the time. So the algorithm will only pick the rider that can reach the store or the vendor at that exact time. If the rider reaches the store 5 minutes earlier and the order is not ready, that's not optimizing the fleet, right? Because you have an idle rider who's just waiting while another order is being placed. So really like focusing on the on time, matching the distance to, or the rider, the distance between the rider and that store, and then the time that the store needs to prepare the order. Now, in our case, for dark store, it's a very, very fast picking. We're talking less than 2 minutes picking, right? Because again, we're using all these technologies and optimizations inside the store, the route optimization, the location-based inventory, in order to help the picker to actually, you know, like pick extremely fast. So then it becomes basically who is the rider who is the closest to your dark store that can come and can deliver the order. So mainly, yeah, like the efficiency at scale becomes a bit more complex.
I think we have a minute left, so I'm going to run to the last question. And again, this is for the group. what do you foresee as the biggest challenges and maybe opportunities for food and grocery delivery? Maybe I'll start with you.
So, I mean, one of the things that I'm obviously looking at is the extreme expedited adoption of AI and how it's going to change customers' interaction with online grocery, online commerce, right? And so we need to stay ahead of it. Right now, everybody is looking at the very easy use cases and the simple ones. I'd like to, take a couple steps ahead and make sure that I'm not getting, surprised with someone completely changing the paradigm. So that's in the back of our minds and looking at that trend and see how do we get ahead of it.
Halima, any final thoughts, views, advice on this sector?
Yes, I think AI is yet to win consumers' hearts in this part of the world. There is so much that is happening in the UK. Ocado does a fantastic job, so that's what we look forward to, being able to use that dynamism and that wisdom in their ability to, add value to the consumer, not necessarily just sell or push, but do it intelligently using AI. And also how we continue to optimize our fleet, how we continue to optimize our processes as we grow. It requires a lot of dynamism behind the scenes. And I think on top of that, the EV, like I mentioned, is constantly on my mind because sustainability is a target for the government here. COP28 has clarified that, and so we need to be able to start working towards that. Mind you, I think there's a difference here. Some of us use more bikes, and we are 100% temperature controlled van fleet. So there is that difference in the number of deliveries you can deliver with a van versus a rider. And so, yes. And this is a very interesting zone because, internally, physically, how we structure our operations and processes, if they open a new dark store, again, things change within there. Or if we open another room, or how we sort of set up our processes, again, it's changing constantly. So there is a lot of growth to come, and I guess these are exciting times for people who enjoy this phase of learning.
Chase, what keeps you up? What gets you excited?
So I think outside of these two areas, three that I'll rapid fire through. One, I think, is the emerging swath of platforms or super apps who are increasingly able to lock consumers in through subscription programs and offer a variety of services. I think in our region, the number is probably 7 or 8 of these players that are sort of chasing this gold rush at the moment. I think the second is the increased interest in this region from global competitors. You've seen the likes of Meituan looking to enter Saudi, starting in food delivery, will inevitably spread into grocery. Ocado partnering up with Panda, and I think we'll just see more of that. The Middle East is a very attractive region for a host of reasons. And then I think the third, and one, maybe I've drunk a lot of Kool-Aid, but I think the importance of speed to the consumer is only going to increase with time. And as these quick commerce players, who all of us are relatively new to retail, we're 2 to 4 years old, have come a long way in those 2 to 4 years. If you look 10 years down the road, I think we'll be offering radically different services and really disrupting both the offline and more traditional online offerings.
Mahmoud, opportunities?
I think from my point of view, what we have to focus on in the upcoming years is really the personalization, like personalizing the experience to each and every customer, because everyone has his own unique journey and his own unique set of things he's expecting from you as a service provider. So I think the upcoming period is where you have to, of course, focus on your efficiency and your effectiveness and your profitability, of course, but the personalization aspect, I think, in the future will be more and more important.
John?
I'm the last one, so I'm going to repeat.
Summarize everything.
I think we need to continue being customer obsessed, really. I think we need to continue putting the customer in the heart of what we're doing. I can only agree with the customization, right? I think as we go, we need to be able to really make that experience of users shopping on our app the most seamless, fastest, and efficient. We need to make sure that whenever you come to the app, we're actually showing you the products that you need, but also products that you don't know you need, but you might end up buying. Because by the end of the day, no one wants to spend a lot of time You know, if users decided to go online, it means that they don't necessarily, some people do enjoy going to a store, right? But then for users who decided to go online, it's not necessarily like an activity that they're enjoying. So for us, really, it's minimizing that time, make it the most efficient so that users can just use that time to do something more interesting.
Great, thank you all. Thank you for your time today, and thank you for the audience for listening. Hope you enjoyed the discussion.